Orlando.
Welcome to the OZone.
Welcome to the OZone.
Welcome to the OZone.
Welcome to the OZone.
The voice of Magic fans.
Welcome back to another episode of the OZone podcast, the voice of Magic fans. In the virtual studio today, we have Justin,
Yo.
Al,
What's going on?
myself, Anthony, and we're coming off a pretty tough Game 3 loss against the Milwaukee Bucks. We're going to talk about that in just a few moments, but guys, what's going on? How's it going?
It's been a minute, huh?
Yeah, it feels like we had some technical difficulties. We would have dropped an episode a little bit earlier. We're not going to blame no names or say no names, but we're glad that we're able to get back into dropping the episode for the people. So,
Yes.
Obviously it's a little different now. Under normal circumstances, we will be watching the game either at Wall Street, live in person, together. So obviously the way our viewing experience is completely different than what the norm would be. How are you guys watching the games right now?
Man, I'm just at home on the couch with the wife. I tried a couple times to maybe get together with some friends and go to downtown and stuff. But at the last minute, we're back out. We just end up watching it at home. But it's been different. I mean, it's been fun. Kind of, we all work, right? So in the middle of the workday, kind of starting lunch break with watching a game, and then knowing that throughout the whole day, up until basically bedtime, you have a game going on, which it's been different. So that's been fun. But as far as a Magic fan, man, I miss knowing that I can go downtown, get together with you guys, and watch the games live. And if there is a game on Amway, then hey, we can go to Amway and watch the games live. That's by far the thing that I miss the most. But it's been fun knowing that at least we have basketball back, and at least we have games that we can watch throughout the entire day.
Yeah, for me too. I think so I moved back to Florida in 2015. And then obviously the Magic made it last year, and I went to Game 3, and that was super special. The atmosphere was great, so that's something that I miss. But right now I've been at home. So I've been watching the games here. It's a little awkward to have like a 1:00 game on a Tuesday, because it feels like nobody's going to be home to watch that. But other than that, I mean, it's been cool. I think the games have been pretty competitive, considering the fact that the Bucks are the best team in the NBA. So it's been fun, different. It's taken a little bit of adjustment, but
Yeah, man, the 1:00 games are brutally tough. I'm fortunate enough to where I was on vacation this week from work, so I've been at home just trying to get prepared for the baby coming and whatnot. And I've been able to watch it just fine. I like watching the game at home, just because I'm in the comfort of my own home. I can scream and yell at the TV. I can grab a beer if I want to, and I don't have to wait for a line, use the bathroom whenever I can, you know what I mean? So I enjoy watching the game at home. I do wish that we were all together kind of watching the game. But so for example, on the next game is tomorrow on Monday. So the game is going to be at 1:00, and I'm returning back to work. So I'm going to try to coordinate my lunch so that I can at least catch the tail end of the game and whatnot. But I would say that was probably be the toughest part. The good thing is the fact that we're back in the playoffs. You know, given under the circumstances, this is back-to-back for the Magic after going on a very long playoff drought. Are you guys satisfied with the Magic getting back into the postseason, even if it is the 8th seed again?
Yeah, I would say I'm satisfied. I think making the playoffs is progress, especially for a team that, you know, for 6 years didn't make it, and then in the 7th year did. I think we've had, and obviously it has to do with being the 8th and the 7th seed, but we've had pretty tough matchups for that first round. I think I'm looking forward to just getting better and kind of getting into the playoffs next year, maybe that 4th or 5th seed, where things are a little more competitive. But I like this team, man. I like the fight that they have, and so although we have made it at the bottom of the pile the last 2 years in the playoffs, we are still in the playoffs, and it is progress. So yeah, I'm satisfied.
Yeah, I think as a fan of any team or any sport for that matter, when your team makes the playoffs, it just gives you hope, right? Like there is a chance, and our Orlando Magic Game 1 always come out and give us hope right away. And like Justin mentioned, yeah, we faced some tough teams, right? We faced Toronto, who eventually won the championship last year, Milwaukee, who's predicted to be another top contender in the East or in the NBA for a ring. So we're playing some top teams, and even then we're competing. This year feels different. We don't have our team healthy. So we have the excuse, I guess, of saying, hey, we're not going to compete. We're going to not win the series. But even then, even when there is a blowout, the Magic make it interesting at the end and give us some hope. Most importantly, though, is the fact that our team is growing. We are national TV. We are playing on meaningful games. Clifford has coached our team to a point where playoffs are expected again as a fan base. Imagine us not being in the playoffs right now. Imagine Washington catching up to us and we would have missed the playoffs. That would have been simply brutal to us. So yeah, it's understanding to not be happy with the fact that we may lose a series, we may not win and advance to the second round and all this good stuff. But let's be realistic, guys. Like, we have, again, a very young team, back-to-back years in the playoffs, the first time since 2012. There's a lot of things to be positive about and be happy about as a Magic fan. Of course, happy, but just not satisfied just yet.
Yeah, am I happy that we're in the playoffs? Absolutely. Satisfied? Not even a little bit. Just because the Orlando Magic have always been a team where we were respected. You know, even during the in between, the 90s team with the Dwight Howard era, we were still respected, and with the Harden Hustle team, because we still had Tracy McGrady, it was a team that you knew that when you come into Orlando that you're gonna have to take us serious. And I feel as if now we're starting to get a little bit of that, but we're not fully there yet. Even as the 8 seed, we're still not as respected. So am I happy that we're in the playoffs? Absolutely. Not satisfied. Now, granted, there's a lot of things that go into that, right? Where we don't have five players or four of the players that we would normally have, right? We are dealing with a lot of injuries, and I feel like we would have definitely did more of an impact with those players. At the same time, I view the playoffs as the best sales pitch you can possibly have to any free agents, just because you want these other teams to look at a team like Orlando, give a team like Milwaukee trouble, and be like, man, if they only had me on their roster, then we could really be something special. And I feel right now, my current feelings is, obviously we're missing AG and MCW, but I don't feel like we're enticing any free agent to want to come to Orlando to be that missing piece.
So you're telling me that with the way we're playing, we're not enticing Giannis? We're not letting Giannis know, hey, Giannis, you're the missing piece. Come to Orlando next year, and we win a championship.
Exactly that. And, you know what I mean? That's the tough part, right? I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, and he's like, well, didn't your front office draft Giannis? Like, couldn't you guys pull him away? And I'm sitting there like, man, if only that were true. You know what I mean? If only that were true, and people saw it the way that we saw it. Just being realistic, that's, in my opinion, that's not the route to go. You know what I mean? In my opinion, is we're not going to entice. We're not going to sit down with any major free agent and be like, yo, you need to come to Orlando because we have this, and that. Like, we really need to be like on our game for the sales pitch to really kind of push it. But I feel like the only way that we are going to get there is either by drafting and by trading. Free agents are coming.
You know, I kind of disagree a little bit. I think the reason why I say I'm satisfied is because I think that, like you said, this is like the best way to open people's eyes as to what the talent level on this team is. And I think making the playoffs, right, even though it was an 8th seed, we probably should have made 7th. And doing so without the stars on this team, really, other than Markelle, you know what I mean? Like, I think people are opening their eyes to what Vooch's game really is. People are opening their eyes to the fact that Markelle is not a failure. He's actually on the upward trajectory, right? And then that's without Jonathan Isaac. That's without Aaron Gordon. That's without MCW. I think that there could be a superstar somewhere that could look at this situation and say, hey, you know what? I think Orlando could be a winning situation. Because honestly, I feel like if we've made it this far with the roster that we have, we really are one superstar, right, or one scorer away from really making noise in the playoffs. So, I don't know. Still got my fingers crossed for CJ McCollum.
I completely agree. I think if you add a scorer at that 2 or 3 position, man, like, this team looks totally different. You add a Bradley Beal, a McCollum, you add anyone that can score consistently 20, 25 points a game at that 2 position, with the youth that we have. I mean, think about what that would do to Markel's game, what that would do to Isaac's game when he gets back, Gordon. I mean, ideally, I just agree with Ann in the way that I don't think if that free agent is there right now, they would say, hey, I'm going to go to Orlando and sign with them. But we have the assets, we have the ability to make a trade for a young guy that can score the ball well and make him happy in Orlando. I think we can definitely do that. And again, but making the playoffs creates that opportunity. That guy comes here now, they're like, hey, I'm going to a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 14 years. That would be totally different. Going to a team that, hey, they made the playoffs, they've been hurt, I can help that team out. I think that mindset is different now when you say, hey, I'm going to go to Orlando than it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we were to trade for a player, I think that once they're here, then we have they're able to get to know the staff, the front office, the environment, the culture that we have. I feel like once they're here, then we can entice them to stay. But it's getting them over here is the issue. So, for example, Markel Fultz, would he ever have really chosen Orlando as a free agent? I don't think so. I don't think it would even cross his mind. But the fact that we force him to come over here, then we're able to have a conversation about him putting him first, putting his health first, having him lead the way, making sure that we support him anyway, not forcing him, not rushing him. I feel like that's what made him feel like, oh man, Orlando. Because he even they said it recently in the broadcast that he's now starting to feel like Orlando is home. But I think that unless we trade for a player, unless we draft that player, I don't think free agents are going to really view Orlando as a destination. Who was the last big free agent that we signed?
Rashard. That's about it.
The biggest name that we signed is re-signing Nikola Vucevic to $100 million.
Yeah. So I'll say it. You know, all of this is speculation, but I guess we'll find out in a month or two, right? I do believe that this is going to be. I believe this is going to be the summer where you look at Orlando and you say, you know, like I think there'll be a differentiation. There'll be like old Orlando, new Orlando, and I think this is the summer that happens. I do think that a scorer will be traded to Orlando, whether that's because we trade Evan Fournier, the 15th pick, AG. I'm not sure specifically who's going to be moved, but I do believe that the front office is going to make a move to make us more competitive.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of – we've been linked to Golden State now for what feels like almost a year with their top draft pick, and it was just recently reported, or they announced that during their draft lottery that they have the second pick. Minnesota also, there's been rumors circling around that they're looking to shop their pick. Magic, we just received our confirmation that we'll have the 15th pick in the NBA draft. So there's a lot of assets, man. It's going to be an exciting offseason.
No, I was going to say, I just hope this is really the year that we make that move, man, because like Justin, I've been here since 2016, and I've been hoping, hey, like, let's make that. This is the year we're going to get a scorer. This is the year we're going to make a move and get a decent name to Orlando. And it feels like we've been saying that every single summer, and it quite hasn't happened. But I think it's gotten to a point now where, hey, you've seen what you got. You've seen what the young guys can do. You know Vooch is that offensive threat that you have. How can we fix this team? And I think this should be, let me call it this way, this should be the offseason that we say, hey, we know what we got enough. We've seen enough. Let's make a move. And I think the weakness that we can all notice is we need a shooter, we need a scorer. And we've been needing that for years now.
I think if we land a scorer, it makes our defense better because it takes the pressure off of those defensive players
for sure.
The offensive end. There's three players that I keep thinking about, you know, as far as like making a move and Orlando acquiring them. And obviously, I think the 15th pick would have to play a role in it. But the three players for me are Devin Booker, Andrew Wiggins, and Buddy Hield. I think one of those three guys will end up in Orlando next year.
I honestly thought we were on the same page.
Wait.
I was thinking that the three that I had in my head was going to be the same that you said, and you didn't say any of the ones that I was thinking. So obviously we're not on the same page.
Also in that top three, obviously in the fourth range would be Kelly Oubre. But go ahead with your three. Who are your three?
I think Devin Booker is unrealistic after he carried the Phoenix Suns to go 8-0 in the bubble. How in the world do you I can't see the Suns making any move for him whatsoever. Zero. That's their franchise right there, right? I think Andrew Wiggins is probably the most realistic. I've been playing around with trade scenarios in my mind, and just if there's any pro to Golden State Warriors giving up their second pick, it would have to be tied to the horrendous contract that Andrew Wiggins has. Like they would want to do anything to get rid of it. I don't see Andrew Wiggins as a fit for Golden State. And I think that at the same time it benefits us because we have a specific player that we're expecting to opt in that's getting paid about $17-18 million that I wouldn't mind letting go for a second pick and the back contract of Andrew Wiggins. But that's just me. So I see Andrew Wiggins, and then I'm holding hope for Bradley Beal. I'm still hoping that's something, and then I'm still a big fan of Kelly Oubre. So we're at least right on one player.
Two of them. Nah, two of them.
Two. Yeah, you're right. Two. All right, so maybe you deserve a little more credit.
There you go.
Now, just to do a quick little recap from the playoffs. So we had a really big upset win during Game 1, where it was a 122-110. Game 2 was a little tough. It was 111-96, where we were kind of getting stomped on the first 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter we decided to step it up a little bit and went on a really good run, and brought it down as close to, I want to say it was 9 points in the fourth quarter. And then Game 3 was just a brutal, tough loss to what it kind of seemed like from beginning to end. Almost similar. It kind of felt like Game 3, fourth quarter, we went on a really good run to break it all the way down to close to 14, 15 points. But Magic just couldn't get it done, and we ended up losing 121 and 107. Guys, what are your thoughts on the series so far?
Man, I think it's a repeat of last year in a way, right? So we had that amazing Game 1 in a different way. We kind of led the whole way. We shot the ball extremely well. So that Game 1 was fun as heck to watch, man. As a Magic fan, it felt unreal. I truly tuned in that day thinking we're going to get spanked. And yeah, here we are, leading by 20 multiple times in that game. They came back multiple times, and I'm like, hey, here we go. We're going to blow this lead. And nope, we went right back up to 10, 11, 12. So that was really, really fun to watch. But then after that, we kind of came back to earth. And we've been kind of playing the Milwaukee team that we expected. The team that plays amazing defense, runs up and down the floor, knocks down threes. And the last 2 games have been kind of similar stories. It's one bad quarter. In Game 2, that first quarter was horrible for us. We couldn't make anything. If I'm not mistaken, we shot 1 for 24 to start the game. And then Game 2, that second quarter, we got outscored 39-20. So that was the game right there. So I think the learning experience is if you can keep up with the Bucks every quarter, you got to play 48 minutes here, you can make it interesting. Are you going to win at the end of the game? Nobody knows. But you can at least give yourself a chance. A nice little streak by Terrence Ross. Fournier hopefully wakes up and make a couple of threes here and there. You are now in the game. Unfortunately, we're doing that way too late in the game. So we've played with passion. I think we played with energy. It's just we got to fix that lull where we go and play really, really bad for 12 minutes and then the Bucks just go away and take over. But I mean, it's playing out like I expected. Just winning that one game, it's more than I ever expected as a Magic fan, to be honest with you, coming into the series. So I'm okay so far. I just hope we win at least a couple more games. That'll be amazing, but at least one more.
So I'm going to disagree with you, Al, a little bit, because I feel like that mind frame of keeping up with the Bucks, and if you keep up, it'll be interesting at the end, and then you just need a couple more players to hit a few more shots, and you could win the game. I think that's the problem. I think that the second and third game, that's how they approached the game. I think there was a little bit of the Bucks is the better team. We just have to make sure we keep up with them and give ourselves a shot at the end. And I don't think the Magic played like that in the first game. I think the Magic went into the first game with their own tempo, their own rhythm, and they stayed with that. You know what I mean? They stayed with that rhythm. And I feel like Game 2 and 3, they got sped up and it got ruined.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like it's just if we can fix that momentum where we just kind of play horrible for those 12 minutes, you can't do that against a top tier team in the NBA. And right now that's kind of what's happening. We kind of either start really slow or have a really, really bad period. And how do you come back from that? At that point, it's too late. You know, you can't stop Giannis for 48 minutes. You're not going to do that. they're going to eventually hit some shots themselves. And one more thing that I want to bring up is I feel like, again, we're helping out way too much on Giannis. You're not going to stop him. You're not going to stop him from dropping 30. And we're helping out too much on him, which is leading their shooters to shoot wide open threes. And at that point, again, it's over. If they're making their shots and Giannis is going crazy, then you pretty much have no chance at that point.
I think at the same time, the Magic need a few things to happen. Vucevic obviously needs to be the anchor offensively for the team. Also, that the Magic, in order for us to really have a chance, we can't wait until the fourth quarter for us to try to climb back from a hole that we've already dug ourselves in, right? We need to be able to kind of punch the Milwaukee Bucks in the mouth from the very first quarter. Because it seems as if the first, the second, the third quarter, outside of game one, so game two, game three, we're not hitting our shots. We're trailing from behind. We're down by 20, down by 25, 30. And then fourth quarter comes around, and then that's when we want to go on a run. The part that made our team so fun to watch on game one is that obviously we were in the lead, but when the Milwaukee Bucks went on their run, we responded back. And this is the playoff series is all about responses, right? How are you, if the Milwaukee Bucks get a couple stops, they go on a run for 2-3 straight times in the basket, what are you going to do? And I feel we haven't done a good enough job in responding. And I feel as if Nikola Vucevic can't be the only one that does respond. Terrence Ross has been playing really well. DJ Augustine had a really good game, had 24 for us. But Vucevic can't be the only one that's holding the load. And a lot of that has to do with our X factors. In game one, we had Gary Clark, we had James Ennis, we had Wesley Wandu that maybe he wasn't doing as great statistically, but he was still being a factor on the floor. What is it about those players now that they can't contribute the same way that they were doing in game one?
In this specific circumstance, so AG not playing, right? You have to believe if AG was playing, he'd contribute 15 or so points, right? On a good night, he could contribute 25. These games that we're losing by less than 15 points each. You know what I mean? And that's with Evan struggling. So I think if AG comes back for game 4, I think, Evan, I don't know. Like, I always make excuses for Evan. I'm always shouting Evan out, making sure that people are aware that he is significant to this team. And I think his significance is being witnessed now, right? Because when he's not scoring, for example, you see like, oh, there's a gap. We're losing games by 15 points. Evan's finishing the night with 8 points, 6 points, 4 points. I think those two guys, I don't know. Those two guys are important. I think if AG comes back for game 4, we could see a difference.
Yeah, Evan is probably one of the most important pieces to our team because he is our best shooter. And right now we're struggling so hard because we're missing offense. The big thing about Giannis right now is that game 1, great. The wall worked. They weren't expecting it. Now they expect it. So now they have shooters that are already off in the corners. You have Giannis that he is breaking down the wall physically with his shoulders. He's literally dropping his shoulders down. And he's so big, he's so tall, he's so wide that Gary Clark, you can't even be mad at Gary. Like, what is Gary supposed to do? He can't do it by himself. He's not strong enough. And in my opinion, AG may not be the same size as Giannis, but muscle base, I think that he would be able to at least make it harder for Giannis. I still feel Giannis is a stronger player, but he would at least make it harder. Because what ends up happening is if you have Giannis coming down from the arc at full speed, attacking your wall, and you have one of those wall that isn't strong enough, Gary Clark, then your wall is broken immediately. But it really goes based on the person that's first in front of Giannis creating that contact. And he's just destroying our wall, like left and right, easy.
And also, Vooch is not a defensive anchor, right? So once Giannis makes contact with Gary and Gary kind of falls out of the play, that's easy buckets because Vooch is not going to play defense on Giannis. So like I said, I mean, realistically, nobody in the NBA has been able to put the clamps on Giannis. That's just a matter of fact. He's too big, too fast, too agile, too aggressive. But like you said, AG has the body type that could make it more difficult for Giannis. Is Giannis still going to drop 30? Realistically, probably, even if AG is on him. But there's a difference between I dropped 30 and 17 and I'm still fresh going into the fourth, or I dropped 30 and 17, but I'm exhausted. AG's making me work. So I think we'll
100%.
That's right.
In order for the Magic to have a chance, we have to be perfect. Like there can't be any room for errors. We need to be strong defensively, collectively, make every point hard on the Milwaukee Bucks, and we need to be hitting our shots. And that's really the biggest difference between game 1 and games 2
really
and
quick.
3.
One thing that baffles me is that Giannis is like a monster, right? And he scores in the paint so easily, right? And then he'll hit 3-pointers, which is like a new wrinkle in his game. But then he'll airball a free throw. Like, I don't get it. And it's not like, it's literally like the ball goes under the net, doesn't even touch anything, a part of the basket. It's just insane to me.
It's so funny because Doris Burke was talking about that with whoever it was that was on broadcasting with her. She was saying that, if you watch him during his practice, he'll sink 15, 16 3-point shots like back to back to back. Like he's hitting. And then you have moments where so when he makes the shots, he makes it. It looks ugly, but he makes it. But when he misses so bad. Yeah, airballing 3-point shots, airballing a free throw. But you know what? It's Giannis, so it's okay. You'll take that one airball. And what pisses me off the most about Giannis is the amount of screaming that dude does. Like when he drives down the lane and gets a crazy dunk or easy layup on Gary Clark. It drives me crazy. Like dude, relax.
I think that's one of my favorite things, actually, because I think it's reminiscent of like Melo, who's obviously one of my favorite players of all time. But that energy carries over to the team. You know what I mean? And one thing I've noticed, and it's probably, I think it's pretty significant, the Magic bench is like the most quiet bench ever. Like other teams, everybody's going crazy, messing around, laughing with each other, and the Magic are just like sitting there staring. And I feel like during game 1, AG, MCW, all those guys did a good job of getting up and getting loud and getting hype for their teammates. And any sport is about energy. You know what I mean? And if everybody's quiet, there's no energy, no talking, obviously things are going to be a little harder for you because you're not in rhythm. So I think if any of the guys on the bench listen to this, get loud for your teammates, man. Get hype. Let them know you're there. Let them know you're fighting and trying to win this game.
How do you get loud for your teammates where you're down 20 the whole entire game?
It's perspective. The fact that you're in there, the fact that you're in there and you're competing and you're not getting swept, and the national media is giving the Magic some type of attention, speaking about them during, shows on ESPN, TNT. I think those are all reasons to, if you're a Magic fan, to get hyped about. And I know there's going to be a lot of criticism about this team. But that's why I said I was satisfied in the beginning. The guys are fighting. Terrence Ross is giving insane effort off the bench. We're coming up short, but I would like to see the team more engaged with each other when they're on the court.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, Al, if you're sitting down in front of your TV watching the game, you're down by 20, are you standing up, hyped up, clapping? Are you doing any of that?
Unfortunately, no.
The energy from a fan perspective changes. So imagine if you're there in person, sitting down, and watching your teammates get stomped, and you can't do anything about it. Yeah, I just think that it makes it tough. It makes it tough.
And I think that's where Giannis' celebrations and stuff come from, is because, again, they're up 25. They're kicking your butts. They're blocking your shots. They're stealing your ball. And then the other side, he's dunking on people. Like, that's where that comes from. Like, they're so in sync in that moment. That's what's leading to their success. He's celebrating it. And I mean, I get it. I feel like the Warriors a few years back were doing that too, with Steph doing his shimmy and things like that. But again, when you're being successful, you're winning. That's what you get away with that, unfortunately. That's what winning means, that you can celebrate, you can have fun with your teammates. So like Justin said, I kind of see that as, hey, if we don't want to see Giannis celebrating in that form, in that fashion, we got to find a way to stop him.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I just don't want to see this dude just celebrating all around, especially on knowing that we're missing our key player. It's not fun to watch on my end. Now, it was recently reported that AG cannot run up and down the court and MCW has been limited to just shooting around, according to Steve Clifford. At this point, knowing that Milwaukee's leading 2-1, last 2 games were pretty brutal. If Aaron Gordon isn't 100%, do we risk even trying to bring him back at this point?
Yes. That I don't even think that's a question, right? Because, like I said earlier, we're losing these games by under 15 points. That's a few more possessions. You know what I mean? That's 1 or 2 more players scoring 4, 5, 6 more points. I don't know, man. I just feel like if we were getting blown out by 30, 35, 40 points, then obviously AG coming back wouldn't matter because he's not going to give us those 40 points we're missing. But because we're losing by 15 or less, I think AG can definitely make a difference. We've seen how easily, and we just talked about it, Giannis gets to the bucket. That's AG getting 1 or 2 stops. He contributes 10, 15 points per game, and we got ourselves a series. So I think AG has to come back if this team is going to make any noise. And also, the series is 2-1. It's not like we're getting spanked 3-0 or, you know what I mean? There's still a lot of games to play.
I'm going to agree with that. I think you're in the playoffs, right? And I grew up watching basketball again in the 90s with MJ and with the hard era. People play hard. The playoffs meant something, and you want to go out there and win. Even though you're down 2-1 right now, you're playing for something. You win tomorrow, all of a sudden, 2-2, pressure's all the way back in Milwaukee again. Like they feel that pressure all of a sudden. So if AG is healthy enough to play, I mean, I just don't understand Clifford because he's been saying the same phrase to us since he got hurt initially. Oh, he's looking good. He's back. He's working, getting some treatment. We'll see how he feels tomorrow. And if he feels better, he'll play. He's been saying that now for 2 weeks. So I don't know I don't know if they're trying to hide it and kind of play it down. So when he comes back, hey, he's back and he's healthy 100%. But like Justin said, in my opinion, if he is able to get back to the court, even if he's off the bench, giving us a few minutes a night, whatever it is, you bring him back. Now, on the other hand, though, you kind of have to worry because a hamstring injury is what happened to KD last year. And then that led to him having a major injury right after that. So that you worry about that with your only really remaining kind of healthy young star you have right now, and one of your main trade assets at this point. So that you play around with that and kind of risk it for maybe winning one more game. Again, in my opinion, you do, but at the same time, it's something that's in the back of your head, especially what happened with Isaac a few weeks ago. So it's tough on the front office, it's tough on the coaching staff. But if he is healthy, you are in the playoffs. And the NBA is thinking about delaying the restart of the next season until maybe February or March. That's a long time to recover if something does happen again where he gets hurt.
Really quick, wasn't KD's injury a calf injury that turned into an Achilles rupture?
Believe so, yeah, that's true. It is.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if AG's hamstring is going to cause the same amount of or the same like injuries down the line. But I think this front office, and I've said it before, they're way too careful. I believe if AG played for any other team in the playoffs, he would be on the court. So I don't know, man. I like what this front office is doing in the sense of setting up our future, but I think they're way too cautious.
I think it makes me wonder if their decision making with AG would be different if Jonathan Isaac, him going down with his injury so fast. You know what I mean? I think that they are being overly cautious now. I think that you're right, Justin. Bring up a good point. If he was playing for any other team, I think they would have put him on the court. But AG's a player that relies on his strength and his athleticism. So a hamstring is a big motor for that. So I wonder if the injury is way worse than what they're making it seem, or not making it seem. It makes it so hard because I feel like every time Steve Clifford talks, he's talking based off of bullet points that are given to him from the front office. That's why he's repeating the same things over and over. Yeah. We have no idea what's really going on. They're being very, very broad. And it's kind of like MCW, right? They're saying that he's way behind Aaron Gordon. Then why not just say that he's out for the rest of the series? Why not just say that instead of saying, well, we're just going to keep giving you updates every game?
Right.
I think that's the part that's the most frustrating. But I do think that if he does get the green light, you don't hold off. You put him in the roster and implement him just because you need Aaron Gordon on your roster for us to have a chance. Game 1, great. We had a perfect game. Game 2, Game 3, you need to have the talent, as much talent on your side as possible. And yes, we are down 2-1, But you're right, Al. The minute that we get if we're able to steal another win, that's 2-2. Now it's an even series. Now it's 0-0, starting over.
Exactly.
And it changes the momentum completely. And I still think that Milwaukee is a beatable team.
Magic in 6, huh?
Magic in 6. Now, Nikola Vucevic has been pretty much carrying the Magic. He's been averaging 29 points per game during the series, 9.7 rebounds, and 2.7 assists per games. Should Magic fan base appreciate Vucevic?
I want to hear from Al on this one. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm one of the biggest critics of Vucevic. You guys know that. I mean, we have the recordings in the podcast.
Episode 7, 10, and 13.
But I'll be
Check
honest,
him out.
man, like, Vooch has stepped up big time. Now, one of the reasons why I felt confident playing the Bucks is that I felt like, hey, Vooch is going to come in and play much better than last year. Just because last year he got dominated by Marc Gasol. He did a few weeks back when we played the Raptors. I'm like, I don't want to see the Raptors at all anymore. All of a sudden, just because of that. And he's showing it. He is balling out right now. And you got to be, again, you have to be man enough to accept your mistakes and accept your flaws. And this is something that I've been really, really hard on him for a reason. His defense, his inconsistency at times, his inability to play like the way he's playing right now. Like that man that can say, hey, I'm going to take over this game. He's doing it right now. So from that perspective, yes, I think we got to give him credit. He has shown up. He's living up to his $100 million contract right now. So props to him. But at the same time, we got to be honest. This is not the Vooch we get for 82 games a year. So, yeah, I'm giving him credit for the playoffs. He's been doing amazing. But we got to see if that can be something he can keep up next year and going forward. Because, again, he is making a lot of money. He's getting paid like an all-star. So he's got to live up to that. But right now, he's definitely doing it.
Yeah, I think Vooch, like you said, Al, is getting paid like an all-star. That's because that man was an all-star. No, I'm just kidding. But I will say Vooch is balling out. And I think it's just on the rest of the guys to match that energy. You know, Vucevic is, I love the changes he's making to his game. I love he's putting in work, developing his movement, his speed, his agility. And you see that, you know, in transition plays, Vooch is no longer slowing the team down. I think he's getting out and running. He's jumping a little more, which was one of our criticisms of him. I think his interior defense could get better. Because I think a lot of times he's just staring at the shooter and not really playing defense. But, I mean, you can't ask for much more from this guy. He's doing what he can to keep this team in games. He's balling out. I think Vooch is definitely worthy of more appreciation from this fan base.
Josh Robbins had reported this on Twitter a couple of days ago. But last year, Nikola Vucevic only scored a total of 56 points in 5 playoff games. In just 3 games, he's already above 80 points. This dude right now is playing and making his $100 million look like a bargain. He's really transitioned his game into being the modern center in the NBA. I remember a couple of seasons ago when he was talking about he's been working on his 3-pointers in the offseason. I was like, what? Why? There's no reason for him doing that. You stay your ass in the post, you grab rebounds, and you pick up all the trash points. That's what your job. Don't go over to the arc. And look at him. He's balling out. He is a threat, and he's giving the Bucks an issue. And I feel as if, yeah, he goes underappreciated so much by the fans, but a majority of that comes from the fact that he's been with us for so long. He's been with us for 9+ seasons. You know what I mean? And we haven't been a winning franchise during that time frame. And he is our best player, and we haven't done well. And I think, and that's really where the frustration comes from. But right now, he's proven his worth.
Yep.
The Nikola Vucevic from last season, where he had to go against Marc Gasol, is completely different than the Nikola Vucevic right now going against Brook Lopez. I mean, Nikola Vucevic is making Brook Lopez like go out and murder as many chairs as he sees in his path every time he gets off the floor, and it shows that Vucevic is, you know, he's balling out. He's doing what he's supposed to do.
One thing I'll
still
say
making
though
us pay on them 3-pointers though.
Yeah. One thing I'll say with Vooch, though, I think it's a mental thing. Like, I feel like he sees certain matchups and he knows when he's going to do well. Like, for some reason, Embiid is another guy that he plays really well against. Brook Lopez. That this big centers that you would think would match up well with him, he still does well. But for some reason, there's this dudes that he plays against, Marc Gasol as an example, and you just know there's nothing from Vooch that night. And as a team that needs offense, it's tough. So I think it's mental a little bit with him, that passion, that drive, just knowing I can dominate. Again, as an all-star, you put any all-star out there, they're going to drop 20 points no matter who they're playing against for the most part. And if they can't do it from behind the arc, they're going to get to the basket. They're going to find a way to get points some other ways. And I think that's the game that if Vooch can find a way to maintain that, even against those tough matchups, that will make a big difference for this team going forward.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But one thing that interests me is like if Vooch is playing this way against Brook Lopez, right? Because I think it's a physicality factor that plays into how well Vooch plays. He's not. I think he's more finesse than physicality. And so when you face guys that are physical like Marc Gasol, he struggles. That's why I thought it would be interesting to see Orlando versus Miami next round if we could pull this series off against the Bucks and shock the world. Because like Olynyk and Bam Adebayo with AG and Vooch, I don't know. It'll just be an interesting series. So guys, get it together. We got to get past the Bucks and give the people of Florida what they want. An in-state rivalry, second round of the playoffs. Orlando claims the best team in Florida. I'm here for it.
That would be a really, really good matchup. Would be. Now, something interesting happened during Game 3. Early in the second quarter, Nikola Vucevic took a little mid-range jump shot. He missed it. It was rebounded by Chris Middleton. He runs down the court. And then a scuffle happens between Marvin Williams and James Ennis. It looks like James Ennis was fighting for the rebound, trying to box out. Marvin Williams kind of, he gets physical with him, and then James Ennis kind of throws him down, and then Marvin Williams goes over and grabs James Ennis by his shirt. He holds onto his shirt for about a good 4 or 5 seconds, and then it looks like James Ennis takes a swing, not at Marvin Williams, but a swing at his arm to kind of get his hand off his jersey. Because of that little altercation, it resulted into both players being ejected. Do you agree with that call? And two, what were your thoughts around the altercation?
I think that call was bull. It's the playoffs. They're grown men. Nobody got hurt. If anything, in my opinion, if anyone were to be reprimanded for the interaction, it should have been Marvin Williams. He was the one who made the physical contact first, grabbed James Ennis' jersey, was not letting it go. And if you see when the ref stepped in, it looked like Marvin threw a little bit of a right hand. That's just what I saw. I think James did take a swipe, but he was trying to get himself free. It's the playoffs, man. Let the guys play.
Man, the NBA is soft. And I grew up watching basketball. Again, I grew up what basketball in my memory is, what really is the foundation of basketball for me. It's the 90s. Again, I go back to that. And this is not it, man. Like watching the Last Dance documentary, like you watch some of the fouls that MJ would have to deal with, and the passion in the playoffs. That's what it's all about, right? And even more now, you're playing in a bubble. You're all about basketball 24/7. These dudes are 100% thinking about the next game. Stuff like this is going to happen. You're competitors. You're growing up. You get physical with people when you play ball. That's what you do. But the biggest thing here is there was nothing there. If, like Justin said, if anything, Marvin Williams pushed Ennis first. Second, he grabbed by his jersey. Third, he kind of threw a little punch there. Like he was the initiator. He was the one that kind of made it all happen. If you throw somebody out, it should have been him. But from what Ennis did, man, I love it. Again, we talked about it before. We needed a guy that was dirty, Matt Barnes type. We like those type of dudes in this team, MCW type. He is like that. And I like the fact that no matter what, it sucked that we lost him because we needed him. But he showed passion. He shows that he cares, and he's not afraid. He said it before. He's not afraid of the Bucks. He's not afraid of Middleton. And if you watch him playing defense against Middleton, there's always little shoves going on, little pushes going on. I love that. So sucked for us because we needed him in game 3. But again, I'm gonna say it again. The NBA is soft, man. That was no way that could have been a suspension or an expulsion. This
Justin,
no way.
if we're throwing James Ennis and Marvin Williams in an octagon, mano y mano. Who's taking that fight? Because I'm taking a look at the replay right now, and if you like slow it down and really analyze it, obviously James Ennis, he kind of gave him like a shoulder thrust almost. He threw both shoulders up. Marvin Williams went back, and then Marvin Williams comes back, and it like with full force. And we're talking about Marvin Williams is what 6'7", 6'8". With full force, he goes over and he like tries his hardest to throw James Ennis, and James Ennis barely moved. Like he absorbed all of that push, barely moved. He even let Marvin Williams kind of grab him by the shirt. He stared at him down, and then kind of gave him the hammer chop. So mano a mano in the octagon. Who are you giving that dub to?
That's hilarious. So I think, Marvin obviously has the size, but aggression plays a role in fights. So I think James Ennis would have done a little damage to Marvin Williams. Luckily, it didn't get to that. Historically, basketball players are not fighters, and it's easy to pretend like you want to fight when you know 10, 15 people are going to come in and stand between you guys. If it was one-on-one, nobody in the gym, I don't think Marvin would have reacted like that because I think Ennis would have put hands on him. But luckily, none of that happened. It was an ejection for the game, and Ennis will be back on the court on Monday. We need him. We need his energy. We need that attitude. We need that aggressiveness. So, Ennis, keep playing the way you're playing. It's going to pay off.
Now, Bobby Marks, he's a front office insider for ESPN NBA, and then also he was a former assistant general manager for the Brooklyn Nets. On Twitter, he had commented yesterday, plain and simple, what a selfish play by James Ennis. Orlando was already undermanned and possibly lose Ennis now for Game 4. Do you believe that play was selfish by James Ennis to get into that altercation?
No way. Like we said before, it's a heat in the moment, man. You got tangled up with another guy. You've been talking trash probably throughout the game. It happens. Again, it happens in every level of basketball, high school, college, whatever. It happens. You're in the playoffs. You're playing for something. It's going to happen. I think that his intention was now, hey, I'm going to throw a punch and get suspended here. Like, I know what I'm doing. It's in the heat of the moment. A couple of pushes here and there. Nothing happened. Again, there was nothing drastic that would have led to that. And I think both players expected a technical foul, and let's keep on playing. When they announced it'll be ejected, I think both of them reacted like, what are you talking about? Everyone reacted the same way. So I don't see it that way in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I also feel like there are no fans in the building. Fans ultimately are antagonizers, right? So, like, if there were fans there and that happened, everybody would have been yelling and screaming and pushing for a fight in a way. You know what I mean? So I think the referees have to do a better job at having awareness, like, of what the situation is, what's at stake, what the score is. You know, like, there's a lot of things that play into why Ennis reacted the way that he did. But to be fair, if another grown man grabs you by your shirt, you're already going to be in defensive, right? Your defensive mechanism is like, dude, why are you grabbing me that way? Don't grab me that way. And your first inclination is going to be to separate yourself from that grabbing. You know what I mean? So I don't think it was as big as everybody's making it seem. I think I don't even think the players should have been ejected. Really, I think they should have been a double foul, and the coaches should have been spoken to like, hey, control your guys and just keep the game going.
It might be a little selfish on my part, but I wish another player would have got in there with James Ennis. It looked as if Milwaukee Bucks, their roster kind of stayed back, the Magic roster stayed back. I get it, but when someone is grabbing your teammate by the jersey, I would have really liked to see another player step in and I don't know, be as aggressive as James Ennis. I'm not saying to escalate it more, but puff your chest out, make it look real. I don't care. Just show that you're there for your teammate.
Be an enforcer. Like, you're not gonna approach my team like this. Right?
Exactly. It's kind of like Jimmy Butler, his situation that he had with Duncan Robertson, right? When CP3, did whatever to him, and he kind of stepped in and was stood up for his teammate. I wish someone would have did that for James Ennis. Not that James Ennis needed it. But it would have been nice to show that the Magic ain't no punks.
Right.
Now at the same time, James Ennis has to be mindful of the fact that the Bucks will be all right without Marvin Williams. The Magic will not be all right without James Ennis. Like, his role right now without Jonathan Isaac, especially without Aaron Gordon, we're already as light as it is. That small 3 role it's James Ennis has to be mindful of that. And, I'm really hoping that nothing else comes out in regards to him missing Game 4. Now, obviously, we haven't received any news reports around AG being active for Monday. No reports on MCW. No reports additional on if there's going to be anything coming out from James Ennis missing any time, which you had mentioned that you doubt. What are your predictions for Game 4 and moving forward for the rest of the postseason?
Man, Game 4, I'm going to go against what I think it's the obvious, right? Again, the Bucks are going to play well. They're going to find a way to win, and that's what everyone expects. As a Magic fan, I'm really hoping we bounce back some way, somehow. It all starts with what I said earlier, not having that one quarter that kills your game. So that means you got to come off the gate and you got to start playing aggressive, attacking the hoop, hopefully, and not letting, again, the Bucks just have those massive runs. I hope Clifford finds a way to tell his team, hey, if we go and we take 4 or 5 jump shots and we're not making them, find a way to go to the post, find a way to attack the basket the next few possessions, get to the free throw line, cut that run. Because, again, if we don't do that, it's going to be a blowout once again. I am truly hoping that the Magic can pull away and get a win tomorrow. Ideally, the realistic fan of me says if we can at least win 2 games in the series, I would be satisfied, more than satisfied, knowing that we've had so many injuries to deal with. But again, the Magic fan in me wants to win the series. I mean, that's the normal thing. And it all starts with winning tomorrow and putting all the pressure back on Milwaukee.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I have a feeling that the Magic are going to surprise us. I think AG will play Game 4. I'm optimistic.
I feel like we've been saying that for Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3 about Aaron Gordon.
I don't know. I don't know if I have. I don't believe I have. But I do think AG plays Game 4. I think everybody is understanding of the importance. Obviously, if you lose Game 4, you're down 3-1. The series is probably over. There's a big difference between 2-2 going into Game 5 and down 3-1 going into Game 5. So, I don't know. I expect AG to be back. I don't think Ennis is going to be suspended for Game 4. That would probably be the most ridiculous suspension in NBA history, if I'm being honest. And I don't know, man. We got to say a prayer or something for Evan, because this man's offensive game is struggling. Not even just his offensive game. His defensive game is struggling. He finished Game 3 with 11 points, and it still felt like he was missing. Evan has to be more aggressive. Bring back FIBA Fournier. Stop second guessing your offensive game and just play the way you've played your entire career, man. We need you at a minimum to give us 15 points. You give us 15 points, we're in this game.
I feel like there's been times when I watch a game where Evan Fournier does too much and he tries to be the Jordan of the franchise, and you tell him like, "Yo, pass the ball." Right now, I'm telling him to do the opposite of that. Do anything. Yeah. Be a ball hog, right? Make smart plays, but be active. Scoring 13 points, and it's an ugly 13 points, is not enough. The Magic desperately need his offense, and Vucevic can't do it by himself. And we can't rely on DJ Augustine and Terrence Ross to carry the load on his behalf. We can't rely on it. We should not have to rely on our bench players to lead the offense for the team. Vucevic can't do it by himself, and we desperately need his help. With that being said, my predictions, I'm praying that the Magic steal Game 4. I believe that it's only going to happen if Aaron Gordon is in the roster. So if Aaron Gordon is on the roster and he's activated, I'm gonna put a win for us on Game 4. If he's not playing, I just can't see it happening. I feel Milwaukee already knows what we're trying to do. That only worked for Game 1, and without additional talent on the roster, I can't see us stealing away another win without Aaron Gordon. If Aaron Gordon doesn't return, we won't win another game. It'll be the exact same thing as last season. And then Game 5 is a Wednesday game. Again, no AG, no win. I feel as if we can get AG back in, we'll tie the series 2-2. Then it gives us a better chance at sealing away 3-2. But in the beginning of the season, people already had counted us out. So right now we're looking pretty solid 2-1 going into Game 4. And what's your final thoughts? Close this out.
Final thoughts. Markelle Fultz. So Markelle Fultz, right now you have no AG, a struggling Evan Fournier, and truly no one else really contributing on offense on the starting lineup. That is, I need Markelle to do more. Markelle from game one was fun. He was attacking the basket. He was pushing the pace. He was coming off pick and roll strong and looking for the open teammate. Whereas the worst I've seen Markelle play this season was in game three. His body language was just not there. He was not attacking. He was not looking for his shot. He finished the game with 5 points, I believe 3 assists, and 5 turnovers. And thankfully, he hit a 3 in garbage time in the fourth quarter, which allowed him to get 5 points. Otherwise, he would have had 2 for the night. I need Markelle to play aggressive and to understand we need him right now. His teammates are not playing up to par in the starting lineup, except for Vooch. We need a threat on the offensive end, and he needs to be that guy. I know he's not a three-point shooter. I know he's not a guy that's going to go out there and jack up a bunch of jump shots, but find a way to get involved. At least be a person they have to guard out there. So that's my take. I just want him to be aggressive and to also, if these are the last 2 games or 3 games of the season, to head into next year with that in mind. Like, hey, I did my best. I tried to attack. I played a good series. I'm confident into the next year that I'm going to have a great season. Because if he ends in this note, I feel like the whole season is going to drag on and him thinking that he struggled in the playoffs. And that's just not the right mindset to leave the season with. So that's my final thought for today.
So for me, I'm going to say Coach Clifford. So look at this, 22.8 points, 1.9 assists, 2 steals. That's the G League stats this last season for BJ Johnson, right? For Vic Law, 19.7 points, 2.7 assists, 0.9 steals. Those are 2 guys that can play the offensive game, right? Where are we struggling? On the offensive end, right? If AG does not play, I believe that Steve Clifford has to expand the rotation, right? Because if you're keeping the rotation limited and the guys aren't producing offense, you're going to lose the game. Give some burn to the guys who in the G League prove to be scorers, right? I'm never the guy that's out here, let G League players play. That's usually Al. But I believe in this situation, if you're not producing enough points against the Bucks, you're obviously going to lose. I think BJ Johnson and Vic Law get some minutes early in the game, especially if AG doesn't play. That's what I would call for Steve Clifford to do. Give the young guys a shot. BJ might turn out to be a star. Vic might turn out to be a star. You would never know if you don't give them any minutes other than garbage time when you're losing.
You give them minutes in the season. How do you justify giving G League, giving your 12th, 13th player on your roster burn during the playoffs? What I feel like Cliff is doing right now is he's not holding Evan Fournier accountable. I get what you're saying. Where there's nothing's working with the players that we have, so why not try something different and use players that in the G League are offensive players? But I feel as if what he's doing with Evan Fournier right now is that he's trying to let it all play out, like get it all out of your system, all your bad plays, your bad shooting, and hopefully something change and the slump stops. But at the same time, how do you justify putting in BJ Johnson and Vic Law during the playoff series to, at the end of the day, he has to report to the front office?
Yeah, but I feel like when the offense is struggling, you have to try different things. Whether it's the playoffs or not the playoffs, would you rather give offensive players a shot when your offense is struggling and give yourself a chance, or stick with the guys who aren't producing and lose? That's really what it comes down to. And the franchise makes more money when the team wins, so ultimately that should be everybody's goal. And
I would say on Twitter yesterday, there was a lot of people calling for that same thing. They were like, hey, you have BJ Johnson, who's known to be a scorer, whatever. He hasn't proven it in the NBA just yet, but he's proving himself to some degree that he can score. Against the Lakers when he played a few weeks back, he had a couple of games where he scored over 10 points as well, with all the injuries we had. So it's not just Justin that feels that way. You guys know where I stand on this. Go back to October. I've been saying it. This guy's been killing it in the G League. Give him a shot. We're a team that is known for years to lack shooting and lack offense. Give him a shot, man. What's the worst thing that could happen? Give him a shot. So like Justin said, I think when you're down 30 in the third quarter, just to send a message. You bench a guy like Fournier, who has had a horrible series, a horrible bubble experience so far. Bench him for a couple of minutes. Send a message. Hey, listen, you either wake up or we got to move on from what you're doing right now. Doesn't have to be permanent. Doesn't have to be a starting lineup thing, but it's just maybe a message thing like, hey, you're not getting it done. Go sit down. BJ, go out there and play 5 minutes. See what happens. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it's like Anthony said, though, it is a tough time of the year to send messages and to play this card because you're trying to win games and you have to have your best players out there. So we'll see what happens with that.
I think that the Magic just need to go down. If they're going to go down swinging. At least make it competitive. Go out there and not. It's really hard to watch this level of play on national televised games. Just hearing the other broadcasters talk about the team, it's really tough. It's kind of like seeing your kid get their ass beat. And that's honestly what it's honestly what it feels like right now. You're just praying and hoping that your kid gets at least get one uppercut, just knock one person out, at least. Listen, just go out there, be competitive, make the game fun to watch. And again, the best sales pitch you can ever make to anyone is right now during the playoffs. And then game four Monday 1:30. We'll see what happens. That's a wrap for us. Thank you for listening. Peace.
Let's go, Evan. Thank you for listening to the OZone podcast, the voice of Magic fans.
Be sure to visit our website, theozonepod.com, and remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.